Something strange happens to a lot of men when a relationship starts going really well. Not when things are hard, not when there's conflict or distance, when things are actually good. When the person is right, the connection is real, and life feels more stable than it has in a long time. That's exactly when some men start pulling away, or picking fights, or finding reasons why it won't work, or doing something, sometimes without even understanding why, that puts the whole thing at risk. It looks like self-destruction from the outside. It feels like confusion from the inside. And most men who've done it don't have an explanation for it. Today we're going to talk about why this happens. Because it's more common than people think, it's more understandable than it looks, and once you see the mechanism behind it, you have the chance to actually change it. First, let's be honest about how common this is. Most men who sabotage good relationships don't recognize what they're doing while they're doing it. They experience it as a vague restlessness, a sudden awareness of everything that could go wrong, a feeling that something is off, even when nothing is actually off. Sometimes it comes out as emotional withdrawal. They stop being as present as they were. The warmth decreases, the effort drops off, and the other person, sensing the shift, starts asking what happened, which creates exactly the conflict the man was unconsciously trying to create. Sometimes it's more active, picking a fight over something small, flirting with someone else, making a decision that they knew would cause friction, actions that don't make logical sense from the outside but feel, in the moment, like relief. If you've experienced this, either as the person doing it or the person on the receiving end, you already know how confusing and painful it is. Let's talk about what's actually driving it. There are three main reasons men sabotage relationships when things are going well. They're not excuses, but they are explanations. And explanations are where change starts. The first reason is that closeness feels dangerous. This is the hardest one for men to admit because it sounds counterintuitive. Why would connection feel dangerous? But for a lot of men, particularly those who experienced emotional unavailability, criticism, or unpredictability from caregivers early in life, closeness and pain became associated with each other. The brain learned early, when you let someone in, they can hurt you. When you depend on someone, they can disappear. When something feels good, it can be taken away. And so the nervous system, trying to protect you, triggers a warning signal when intimacy reaches a certain depth. The signal says, "This is getting dangerous. Pull back." Create distance before they do. It's not rational. It's not conscious. It's a pattern that was installed before you had the language to question it. But it runs. And it runs hardest when things are the best, because that's when the potential loss feels the greatest. The second reason is a deep-seated belief that they don't deserve it. A lot of men carry a quiet, rarely spoken conviction that good things don't last for them specifically. That happiness is borrowed time. That if something feels too good, the correction is coming. And it's better to control the ending than to wait for it. This belief usually isn't conscious. It doesn't announce itself. It shows up as a thought like, "This is too good to be true," or "I'm going to mess this up eventually anyway," or "She'll figure out I'm not who she thinks I am." Psychologists call this self-concept maintenance. When your internal belief about yourself doesn't match your external reality, the brain works to close the gap. If you believe, deep down, that you don't deserve stability or love, and someone is offering you both, the brain creates pressure to return to the familiar state, not because it's better, because it's known. The third reason is that vulnerability triggers a threat response. Genuine intimacy requires vulnerability, not the performed kind, the real kind. Letting someone see your fears, your failures, your uncertainty, needing someone, depending on them. For men who were raised to equate vulnerability with weakness, which is most men, real intimacy triggers the same internal alarm system as a threat. The body responds with tension, the urge to withdraw, the need to reassert control. Not because the person in front of them is dangerous, but because being truly known feels like exposure. And exposure, somewhere in the system, still registers as risk. So the sabotage isn't really about the relationship. It's about protecting a self that was taught long ago that being fully seen was something to avoid. Think about a man named Ryan. He was 34 when he met someone he genuinely connected with for the first time in years. The first few months were the best relationship he'd ever been in. She was emotionally available, consistent, funny, everything he said he wanted. Around month 4, something shifted. He started nitpicking things that had never bothered him before. He canceled 2 plans in a row with vague excuses. He found himself looking at other women, not because he was attracted to them, but because the looking felt like a release valve for something he couldn't name. She asked what was wrong. He said nothing. Because that was true. Nothing was wrong. That was the problem. He ended the relationship 3 weeks later. He told her he wasn't ready. He told himself the same thing. It took him 2 years and a therapist to understand what had actually happened. His brain, having never experienced sustained emotional safety in a relationship, had read the stability as a prelude to abandonment. It had started the ending before the ending could happen to him. He described the realization as both clarifying and devastating. Clarifying because it finally made sense. Devastating because he understood with that clarity